Hi everyone. I'll give it about 5 to 6 minutes, just waiting for more people to come through. Hey guys, if you've just joined us, we're just waiting for more people to come through. Hey guys, if you've just joined us, I'm going to get to about 5 past and we'll make a start. Hey guys, I'm going to make a start now. Hope everyone's had a good Friday and enjoying a nice evening. The weather's nice where I am. The reason we're having this call today is solely about the document I posted in the Slack channel a couple of hours ago now. We've following a new guidance, as in a new release of a document from the government. We have taken the decision to put our project into hibernation. We're pausing printing. We're not stopping printing just yet, which that means for the foreseeable future, unless we give any updates, we ask you not to print any further parts. This is solely due to that document, and I trust that you guys have read it because it explains point by point And actually, if someone could from the admin team could post that link in the chat to the document, that'd be great. The document speaks about liability and confirms, excuse me, confirms other thoughts we've had in the past, but previously we've been hot on the documents, but following this guidance, it's led other groups to shut down and stop printing. However, our stance is we're currently hibernating, seeking more information, more advice, but in the meantime, we didn't want to waste any more material until we are 100% clear on the next steps. On that, I'm going to pass over to Annie, who's going to be speaking to you quickly about the SATRA and the CE testing.
Right, so yeah, I'm Annie. I've only spoken on these YouTube calls a couple of times so far, but yeah, so a couple of days ago, we had this guidance letter put out for small-scale manufacturers of PPE, and so what that basically specified is we need to meet some essential requirements for in order to supply through the NHS and etc. So so basically all of those tests are what's covered under a standard CE test, which is what we'd put the design through for CE testing before, and when we had put it through, we were assured by SATRA and a couple of other bodies that it would be it should be fine because they basically wanted to approve as much as they could. So there's a requirement as for with the specifications that we would need to comply with. There's a requirement that these visors sort of maintain their structural integrity after being put in an oven at 55 degrees for an hour. So what we'd been told before is that wouldn't apply because obviously these are going to be used in a temperature controlled environment and they don't need to stand up to like such extremes. So yeah, that's why we went ahead with it and we were assured it was fine. But since then, with yesterday's document, we've been told that no, we do in fact need to meet all of them. And so so since we've been told to meet all of them, as of now, we don't have a pass certificate, which is what we need to supply. And challenging this, we have, challenging this, the government has also put out another letter stating that given the circumstances that COVID has caused, it's up to these testing bodies to sort of use their best judgment and waive certain requirements when, you know, it's obvious that it's not necessary now. And we believe because our design it's not for long-term use, used in like controlled environments, we believe that this temperature requirement shouldn't be a sticking point. And so we've presented this to SATRA and they're looking into it. We've got a few people who are sort of real experts in this and really experienced in this field looking into it and supporting us as well. So we are really challenging this, and that's what we want to do to make sure the stock that we already have doesn't go to waste, and that's what we're focusing on now. So yeah, I'll pass everyone on to Adam then, who can speak a bit more.
Yeah, cheers, Annie. So I'm just going to go over kind of what this means to you guys, and kind of just clarify the 8 steps, the 8 points in the document that we put together. So effective as of when this document went out, we're no longer accepting donations or any fresh donations for any more headbands or the surgical mask scripts. You continue to print the surgical mask scripts, and we advocate that you at the moment you distribute these locally because they're not considered PPE. They are considered pretty much the same as a hair accessory because they don't have any actual protective purpose. They obviously just helping to mitigate any injury to the ear from the face masks. Any parts you've not yet filled in a packing slip for, you'll not be able to send effective immediately. So that kind of covers the first point with the pausing of printing. So reason for turning off all donations, obviously including the surgical mask scripts, is with the size of the logistic network we put in place to be able to deal with the vast amount of donations. it would be very wrong of us to expect our partners to just carry on with the surgical mask grips while we're not focused on the main goal, which actually is the PPE, which these partners are with us to help make and help get out there, being obviously the actual face shields. Any parts you've already sent to IGUS will be awarded points once they've been booked in. So we was in talks with IGUS this morning. The backlog has been cleared. The staff there have been working extremely hard over the last 2 days to clear the backlog picture that you saw the other day. So most of the points obviously will be there. Obviously there will, understand obviously with that there'll be parts still in transit, parts in gap locations, in the post on the way from buy box that you may have dropped off last night and whatever else. So gap locations have been kind of informed of obviously what's going on, and that to ship those parts in as quickly as possible so that they can be booked in at IGUS, and then your points will be allocated to your account accordingly. And the same with anything that's in the process with buy box. Obviously buy box is like a next day kind of service, so it's a little bit quicker, and direct post obviously is dependent to what delivery methods you've used. So with that, they will be booking parts in for the next 7 days. Anything outside of that will basically just be put into a pile that points will not be allocated to it unless a resolution from our end is obviously able to be found of how we can move this project forwards. You'll be able to claim filament for the next 1 second, I'm trying to read here. You'll be able to claim filament with your awarded points while stocks last. So we do have a limited amount of stock. If you want 2.85, we've got absolutely tons of it. There's actually a load more, which I've been in the process today of listing a load more stock that got delivered yesterday onto the website. I haven't got around to the 2.85 yet, but the 1.75 is now on there. It is on a first come first served basis. If we do run out of stock, we will obviously assess what we can do, which is dependent on what direction we take moving forwards. But we don't make any guarantees with that. So if you've donated points and we've run out of filament, that doesn't mean we will definitely be giving you filament in the future, because we just can't make these guarantees. Depending on what direction we go, depends on what other things that we can possibly do. So different avenues have different restrictions and various other things. Claiming filament will be available for the next 7 days, so until the 22nd of May. Reason for putting that deadline in there is that will be the point where, from my point of view, and knowing how much so from my point of view, knowing how much I physically got sat in my garage, at that point I think we're either going to be running very low on stock or potentially out of stock by that point. So at that point we're going to be making a really hard judgment call on this, pretty much on a every 2 day basis, to be able to work out what can we do anything yet. Are we still waiting for more information, whatever else? So obviously that's why we put that deadline in place. So yes, please log on to the N3DPS members area, check out your filament. If you want it in 2.85, give us a couple of hours. There'll actually be some more choices on there, a lot more color options for you as well. Also with the filament, I would say if we do, or if and when, depending on what options become available to us, if we do restart, there is glow in the dark filament on there. As we stated before, we cannot accept glow in the dark parts because it contains materials which are extremely high irritants to skin. It was donated. It was just what came in the boxes that from RS Components. So obviously we don't really get much of a choice of what they gave us. They just sent us kindly a load of spools. Also with the new filament that we've got as well, just a slight side note, sorry, they are 500 grams. So those that haven't got enough points to be able to claim a full kilo spool, there are obviously now some lighter spools on there. And also I have got some slightly, no, I've not got anything less than 500, but I have got a few other spools I'll be adding on there throughout the night as I get all the information and do all the stock checks needed to get it online. So those who have had issues with quality control with the V3s, so I saw a couple of questions on Slack about this earlier, saying about how when we put this document out, people didn't think this had been done. It has. So if you donated some V3s and over 60% of your order failed QC, you were awarded 50% of your points. Apologies, we did say that would be done a day earlier than it was, but as I'm sure a lot of you can understand, the delay for that was when we came round to, when would it have been, Thursday morning, or we were looking at it, getting that implemented, and Alfie was kindly facilitating that for us. All of our focus went straight away from that and went all onto this document, which we spent the entire day yesterday working out what does it affect us and all this, that, and the other. So that's why it's taken us a day longer. So apologies for that. So we're also looking into where we can send these parts to if we can't continue. So we are looking at all avenues. So we have a few different options. So from our current understanding of the document, which obviously is left to potential change, dependent on what we get back from the varying experts. Our current understanding is basically that we cannot supply these parts in the UK to anybody, whether that be Joe Blogs on the street, care homes, or anything. We can't supply them there at all. So we are looking at options of, can we send these abroad to non-EU countries that don't fall within the same remit, and to see if that is a possibility. I know we have also got a couple of different options with that. Actually, with our partnership, which we announced the other day with British Red Cross, that they're looking at some options. So we've got plenty of big players looking in to see where we potentially could help in different areas if we can't continue. Obviously, we would all prefer to support the UK, but dependent on what comes back, we might not be able to. And also, obviously, looking into all the other options, and also with the rejected parts as well. We are also obviously still focusing on trying to find a recycling partner and get that set up to be able to recycle the rejected parts. So we're going to just cover just the top one of Phil's points here before I pass over to him. Be aware that IGUS will be booking all parts in the next 7 days, as kind of stated before. If you are sending parts direct, if you've created a packing slip and then made your parts or whatever else, if you ship your parts, or if your parts arrive after the 7 day period, as in they arrive after the 22nd of this month, then unfortunately they will not be booked in. They will be put to one side. If for any reason we do not restart and resume printing, then you wouldn't get the points for those. If we do, then obviously they'll be booked in, QC checks carried out as per, and obviously we'll go from there. So Phil, if you want to just cover the last few points, mate.
Yep. Okay. Sorry, had some issue unmuting my mic. So I just wanted to make it clear to everyone that we haven't taken this decision lightly. It's not just something we've skimmed through a document and thought, let's shut everything down. Last night we had meetings with Shield and Med Supply Drive to get their feedback. Also part of Shield is people like Print for Victory and Help Engineering. Those two groups have both stopped printing already. We wanted to give ourselves a little bit more time to look at it and understand it a bit better. But obviously this document then coupled with the CE information we got back from Satra was a bit of a blow. Med Supply Drive are looking into more information for us to see if there's anything that can be done. We've also got our partners looking in to see if there's any information they can bring to the table. People like RS Components are on this. We've also got some of our Slack members who have got experience in getting things through CE approval are on this as well. So I just want to make it clear that, you know, we've all put in a lot of time into this over the last 7 weeks. We don't just want to turn tail and run. We'll be keeping you updated. We won't be doing a call next week as scheduled, but we will be doing a call as and when we have some tangible information to give you. I'm not too sure what else you need me to cover, Jay, to be honest.
No, mate, that sounds about it.
One last thing I'd just like to say, obviously, Wednesday's call was, look where we're heading, and we didn't see this coming. You know, this is a bit of a different call than we thought we were going to be having today. I have been on the calls with our suppliers, of which there was around about 40,000 shields on its way, and I've obviously had to put the stoppers on it. So it's not the sort of call we were hoping to have today, but it's the situation we find ourselves in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is also with regards to how we were doing, or were meant to have been doing from Wednesday. As I said last week, we were literally steps away from having, and by steps away, I mean my first phone call on Thursday was meant to be the final step to have a lot of stuff starting to move and getting product out the door and where it meant to be, and just give everything the final check and nod kind of deal. That's literally how close we came to exactly what we said we were going to be doing on Wednesday, before this obviously just completely and utterly broadsided us. So, as Phil said, some of the admins here in the earlier days of the project, thankfully not so much anymore, we were putting in 16, 20-hour days every day for weeks, like for a couple of weeks. So, yeah, obviously a lot of you guys say it's a lot of wasted time, wasted material, and whatever else. We completely understand. We are completely on the same page as you. We are just as annoyed by this, hence why we're not trying to roll over and play dead. We are trying to see where we can go, but while taking sensible, responsible actions to not waste people's material, time and effort on something that may, if we can't get around this, not be achievable.
Yeah, I wanted to... Cheers, Adam and Phil. I wanted to just mention something about the CE stuff, because I'm just looking at the questions, and I just want to clear something up before we move to a bit of Q&A. The CE testing failed mainly on the elevated temperature test. This is for the material of PLA, which the test basically is 55 degrees in an oven, held up for an hour, and they're checking for deformation. And we know that the glass transformation temperature PLA is 60 degrees, but we were informed when going through testing way back about a month and a bit ago or less, when we started all this process, that test wouldn't be undergo, because it's a single-use product, as you guys are saying in the comments. We understand that, we know that, but as Adam's mentioned, with the document and with the fact that our CE test has failed right now, we think it's wise, and we can only make a decision with the information we know now. We think it's wise to pause printing until we challenge Satra next week and get a better understanding of where we are, and we don't want to waste any more parts and material, as Adam was clearly saying. So I just want to reiterate, this is a hibernation. This isn't a stop. This is a hibernation. This is a pause. And if something clicks over and we get that approval, then I guarantee you I will be the first one back and pushing and making everyone print in the Slack. And Robert, I'm just whilst I'm on the topic of this, so why do we not test with PETG? As everyone knows, PETG is a lot trickier to print for a lot of people. PETG also may not pass the test. Like, there's no guarantees on that, and hence, because we were informed initially that the test wouldn't, this particular test doesn't matter for single use, we made the risk assessment and we assessed that PLA is cheaper, it's easier accessible, we can use it. If that test doesn't matter, we will pass everything else. And thanks, Alfie, it is also a lot more expensive. Cool.
As well with that, I think the other thing to understand is obviously a lot of people, well, I say a lot of people, some people have obviously joined initiatives like this across the country where they've bought a printer specifically to do this. PETG is not, as Jay says, not the easiest to print with. Hence, we just wanted to make the process as easy as possible for everybody. And with the information, PLA was just by far the best choice. Most other groups, I think, would be right in saying.
That's what I was going to go on to say.
Yeah, so we're not exactly like we're doing anything super different to everybody else. It's just one of those. Unfortunately, we make our choices based on the information we've got. So
yeah, and two things on that as well. PLA, it means that anyone, and because I've mentioned with joining another group, no other group with PLA will be CE approved. The only ones 3D printed visors which have been approved are the ones done on resin printers, a different material altogether. And Robert, to your comment about PLA has proved to be hugely more expensive as you have failed. I don't think any of us set out for this outcome, mate. And I hope you can appreciate how much time and effort everyone, including you guys, have put into this. And this is no one's fault. And I don't think that's just with saying we have failed, because I don't think any of us expected to do that, and I don't think any of us set out to fail.
And yeah, we were acting on information that this wouldn't apply, and obviously we wouldn't have rushed into this blindly just on the basis that PLA is easier if we knew that this was going to happen. So yeah.
The other thing as well is where this information comes from. It comes from reliable sources, from industry experts, not just from internal discussions. We are well aware that we don't know all the answers internally. That's actually why we contact these organisations before we even went through SATRA testing. We were asking them what tests would be the required tests. As we found along the way, pretty much from start to finish, the goalposts have constantly moved, and that's come from way higher up than us. The government has constantly moved the goalposts about what is acceptable, isn't acceptable. Obviously, you've also got the situation where some bodies, some CE approval bodies, they have different tolerances and whatever else. Someone's also saying that as well. There's a reason we made the V7. The V7 was designed specifically to conform to the guidelines as we had it. There is, in theory, from our point of view, there is no issue with the design or with the printed part, but just the material, if that test is an absolute necessity. But realistically, how many times are you going to be wearing a head visor in 55 degrees without pretty much passing out from heat exhaustion? It's not a realistic test, hence why we're going down those routes and seeing what's the rationale behind it, is it required, and whatever else. As soon as we get answers, we'll be shouting all over Slack, YouTube, and everywhere else exactly those answers are and what we're doing. Agreed. We don't want to keep you guys hanging around any longer than we have to. We would much rather give you the facts when we have them, so that we can.
Yeah.
So much rather give you the facts when we have them than sit on them and not keep you guys well informed.
What I would like to add, though, is we say we don't want to keep you sat round. Is what you guys have built, rather than what we as admins have built, is a community here. And obviously you might have your friends that you chat with and people that you get on with. If you guys want to chat in the meantime on Slack and everything, we're not saying turn off your printers and go home. You're already home, but don't look at Slack. But keep yourselves updated, keep chatting. The biggest resource we have is you guys. If you find something out, if you know something, bring it to us.
Yeah, exactly. And there's about 2,000 odd people on general, and obviously we've had, so over the course of the last 7 weeks, we've had so many people coming up. I was saying, I work in this, I've worked in that, I know someone who does this, and honestly, those have really helped us get over the obstacles or stumbling blocks that we've had. So I just wanted to reiterate that, because a lot of the reasons why we've been able to overcome the problems we've had is on advice from you guys.
Exactly. Like, as you guys remember, I've been in National 3D Printing Society before. All of the admins were community members from the start.
Yeah.
And they still are community members. All the guys on this call here came through with the community.
But I offered to help with approval pictures and ended up taking over head of IT and logistics. So we've all put in serious hours and work to obviously try and do as much as we can, and you guys have all done exactly the same.
And yeah, 100%. And I think I just want to answer some of the questions I'm seeing as I'm going, and one of them's about CE testing, and if another initiative can use our CE testing. So this is something which I wasn't clear about before I looked a lot more into CE. CE testing, you're not just testing the product, you're testing the process of that product. For example, let's take our headband. The CE testing doesn't just stop at the actual structural parts of the headband, it stops at the packaging, the quality control, the assembly environment, the journey the product bloody takes. It's everything.
Yeah.
It's not just that product. And another initiative wouldn't be able to use that same CE testing within our network, because it would have to, that CE would apply to our network.
Exactly. But to put that in layman's terms of how that affects you guys, basically you would be providing parts to us where they would go through that QC testing, which is already what we believe is already being done at IGUS, where they would then accept or reject based on that QC standard for it to then go forwards. So the process starts with what comes in the door from IGUS, and then which ends obviously when it arrives at the end user from our point of view.
And to add to that, it's actually right that what we're discussing now, to put it technically, isn't even a CE test. It's basically what we're doing now is we're just trying to pass the requirements. But for a CE test, like, you need to put in so much more. They need the technical information. They need the spec sheets from the filament manufacturers. Like,
and
that's
and
on a whole other level to what we're doing now.
That is something we have. Like, with the technical data sheets, we've been collecting those. The technical file is something we've been working on, waiting on, all in anticipation for the CE testing to pass. Obviously, now we've got to challenge this requirement, as Annie is being point on that and being amazing with that. But that's what we are waiting for, guys. We're on this.
I was going to say the thing we haven't explained, the things that's put the biggest stopper was the way our route was to market now that our head was around was we're just going to put a waiver in and stop waiting for CE approval, because obviously there was a lot of frustration on the Slack that we were just waiting for that. There was other things going on, but what we wanted to do as of when we spoke to you on Wednesday was start supplying with a waiver in place, and then that evening this document landed on our desk and basically states we can't do that.
I think now would be a good time, if you guys have got any questions, to pop in the conversation, in the chat on YouTube. I'm sure we can start trying to go through them best we can. Just please don't ask why that document has appeared, because that is one we would all love to know the answer to. We don't know the answer. So George, you said about giving these away locally. Just I think one of the key points to note is, as Alfie's just linked there with the document, it doesn't matter if you're an individual, a group of makers like us, or a large company. If you don't have the appropriate things, the appropriate markings and steps completed, you are opening yourself up to liability. It obviously the only stance we can take on that is recommending you don't do that. That is where we have to stand for obvious reasons.
Yeah. Paul, can we make anything else non-PPE that helps? Yep, surgical mask strips. But secondly, we are looking at potential other initiatives that 3D printers may be able to aid with through the aid of RS components. But that is something this has been very fresh for us. That is something we're looking over the weekend and over into early next week. And guys, as we've said, we will be doing a YouTube chat as soon as when we have a tangible update for you.
As for printing other non-PPE products, what you've got to bear in mind is obviously our partners and our business partners that are obviously doing this for free or for extremely reduced rates for any partners that are charging us. They're doing that to help provide PPE. If they were providing a non-PPE item, we would have to have a renegotiation with them about what kind of prices they can do for something that would be considered potentially non-essential, especially for our delivery partners. They might not be willing to help out so much. Well, obviously, we'd be printing parts that aren't necessarily going to help save lives, but just more make people's lives easier, that they would more rather focus their capacity on helping to save lives if they can.
There's a bit of a conversation between Andrew and Ewan about the use of ABS. And I think Alfie's put there that he's not dead yet. I have spoke to Alfie. I wouldn't recommend printing ABS without an enclosure and an extractor. It would be more difficult for all our members to suddenly get ABS and a lot more expensive. Again, the resources we have is PLA. We don't have PEGT, very much of it. We don't have ABS in stock. So to try and keep that going would be very expensive for you guys because we wouldn't be able to have that reimbursement in place.
And also got to bear in mind, one, ABS is an irritant and isn't suited for extended contact with skin. Two, ABS is renowned to be an extremely difficult material to print without enclosures, constant temperatures. You've got to have your window open if you want to have your window open to cool your room down where you can't because the draft causes warping. There's all kinds of difficulties, hence why PLA was by far the best choice. So obviously saying medical grade ABS, that's great. One, being medical grade, I bet a lot of larger companies have bought that up. Admittedly, I haven't looked into obviously trying to acquire medical grade ABS. So it would probably be very difficult to get our hands on large quantities of it. I think I saw a message you saying about that earlier, saying it's about £40 per 750 grams. It's just not a viable option. Financially, it's not realistic. We do not have that higher funds. Look on the Just Giving. We don't have the budget to be able to get the clear plastic sheets by £40 spools and also be able to buy it in large enough quantities. It's just not realistic, unfortunately. Hence why we need to go for the consumer grade materials that we can get our hands on, and we can kind of get donated through some of our partners and whatever else. So yeah, unfortunately that's not one we can go for.
I just seen it made me laugh. First time I've laughed in the last couple of days, but Jason put there, he doesn't understand why there's a test for these things to withstand that a human wouldn't withstand. You're quite right.
I completely agree. I understand that from my understanding, the purpose for that test, I think a few of the other admins may agree with me here, that the test is for the PPE going through the cleaning process, going through dishwasher-like systems or whatever other machines they use. So it's not really my area of expertise, but that's why we're fighting back on this, because if it is single use, it's not going to go through a cleaning process. So maybe that test isn't required. This is what we need to look into. But what we can't do is obviously have you guys sat there spending large quantities of material. There's one particular maker, for example, I think every week he ends up ordering 6 to 8 kilos of filament because he's printing that many parts. So if you've got makers like that ordering large amounts of material and whatever else, and to let you guys sit there, keep potentially wasting material on something that we can't get out the door would be, well, quite frankly, it would be completely unacceptable. We don't want to do that, and wouldn't do that.
Definitely.
Just make one other thing clear, because so the sort of why don't we retest in PETG, they will still heat it up to 55 degrees, and what they do, if I'm correct, is Annie, correct me if I'm wrong here, but they then drop a ball bearing on it. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I'm again also this is what I was told on the phone with our guy at Satra. So what they do is why our one failed in the sense that once they took it out of the oven, they were like, there's just no point doing the inspection, doing any like further testing on it because it was so far gone. But yeah, so after it's been heated and then cooled down again, they then do some more sort of like robustness tests on it, and yeah, it's beyond that. So even if technically PETG is fine, it's like according to the spec sheet, we don't know how it would have reacted afterwards when they did the rest of the tests.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The glass transition temperature of PETG is only 80 degrees. So that would be a little bit of an unknown. Obviously, yes, we could test, but again, going back to the sourcing PETG, the extra cost of PETG, the complexities of printing in PETG, like there's so many extra steps and things. Obviously, we have to take it into consideration. Obviously, yes, it's an option that we can look into, but obviously we've got to think about the big picture as well.
Yeah,
I'll just add there as well with regards to the Satra test. These tests are not are designed in a way to conform with BN166, which is more to do with, and you think, why would they drop a ball bearing on it, was the first thing I questioned. Well, it's more from a engineering sort of what's the word? I've lost.
Point of view.
No, the background it's from. So we want to use it for a medical reason, but the BN166 is more to cover the workers. Does that make sense? So
yeah.
More like someone working on a lathe with a with a face mask. You know, so again, there's another point that we can challenge it at.
Yeah.
That this is more going to be a splashback scenario at most, rather than sort of material firing at the face visor.
Yeah. So to expand on that, if these are all EU-wide specifications. So if you think about it, like they have made this specification based on however many like thousands of use cases like a visor like this may have across however many however many environments there are across Europe. And so so I saw someone put in the chat that about this EU sorry, let me just get the exact name. Some EU like 320 something or the other. So basically the EU has put out a resolution again saying to Satra and other notified bodies, just use your best judgment. And so that's why that's the line that we're taking and why we're challenging Satra. So it's a case of everyone knows that it's common sense, but at the same time they're not being strict enough on the wording to say, like this is allowed, this is not allowed. So that's why no one really has a good idea of how to continue.
To jump on to a couple more of these questions here.
Yeah. Does that notice about was that the one Robert Norris mentioned about the, are you aware of the EU 2020?
Yes, it's that one.
All right, no problem. Some more questions then, with one being from, I'm just reading from the bottom up because it keeps on jumping, with
the
PET G, £20 kg. Currently we purchased ours from 3D Printworks for £8.75 per kilogram. We could not afford that £20 per kilogram without just giving funds to supply to everyone the same way we're doing.
So also an important point to note. Obviously, I think pretty much I could probably speak for a lot of people here and saying about the Prusa design is probably one of the first designs a lot of people saw.
Yeah.
So someone just put in the Slack. Do you know if the Prusa has got certification? So Prusa's design got certification in the Czech Republic, but it hasn't got C certification in the UK. Again, if they print it out of PLA and through obviously the testing that we've gone through, that it would be a no. I would assume, but I'm not aware of anyone that's got a Prusa design through CE testing so far.
If anyone becomes aware of that, let us know.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So a few groups, but I say a few. There's one in particular. They are continuing with the Prusa design based on them still going under the CE certification, which they believe to be enough. But now that we know that this temperature requirement is a given, we know that nothing's going to come of it, and then rather than cause some issues further in the future, we'd rather have everything buttoned down and know everything is a fact before we assume it as a fact.
James standing is kicking the teeth with printed and donated 7,000 across the world. Yeah, completely agree. Couldn't agree with you more that it is a complete kick in the teeth, and it hit us like a freight train. Christian Hargraves, thank you very much. Much appreciated.
Yeah, so Jason, you repeated the question. So what we have paid for now, so we submitted for a full test, a full CE, like a testing against the full BSEN 166 requirements for I believe it was an APET, a version of the visor that had an APET screen and partial testing on one that had an RPET screen. And for both of them, including retests, all in, it was about £918. But again, those do come with retests. So that's where we're working out now. What's the best way to use those, and what's the most efficient way? What's going to have the most benefits in the future?
Drews, you've obviously commented there. Has anyone contacted the press to expose this farce? It's silly EU regulations. We anticipate there will be a bit of a press coverage over this, because there was a bit of a press coverage about 4 or 5 weeks ago about, and there still is, people 3D printing face shields and donating them. I don't believe it's going to be our stance to go to the press, but that doesn't mean we can't, that anyone here couldn't.
So
James put, we did all this without taking any money in. We did get Just Give around about 12 grand. I mean, I was speaking to another group who came across this this issue the other day, and they offered to come across to us. They only had 14 printers, but had 15 grand donations. I wish we could times that by the amount of printers we had, but we did what we did. We are still doing. We're already talking in past tense here. We are still doing a good job with the money that we have, and we will do the best job with the money that we do. We have.
I think one of the other points, jumping back on with the document as well. I think what's also key to note is this. The document the government released doesn't just cover 3D printed PPE. It covers gowns. It covers everything. So obviously, you've imagined how enraged our community of 2000 are. all of you guys in the chat are, and obviously the admin team as well. You've also got seamstresses and people in their homes that have got a sewing machine trying to help out making other things that are also affected by this. So yes, I would say that there is going to be a big media impact on this, and that from our point of view is only good. If change happens in our favour, we'll jump on top of it.
Yeah. So a couple of people have said, like Duddy, other people saying we're going to stand by. We really appreciate that. Like, we're in this boat with you, and like, we're really thankful that you guys are there ready and waiting for us to go as well. Christian Hargrave, is the Just Giving page going to be suspended? Yes, mate. The process has already started. Already contacted the relevant people. We're waiting on confirmation, as you can expect. It's a Friday bloody evening. Paul, if this does completely flop, what will happen with the remaining funds? Okay, so with the remaining funds, this is something we've got not so much time, but we've got some time to think about this.
I would just like to add before you say that is we had just placed a massive order with one of the companies, which we announced on Wednesday, the £9,000. That was in process, so I am currently in talks with them to see what we can retrieve back from that. Let's just add that before we. Yeah, it would be nice to get that back, and
yeah. So and let's imagine if we do get that money back. If we had that money back, we would first look at what we would do with the larger donors, and we'll contact them and ask them how they see fit for where the money to go. This is dependent if we had enough money in the bank account to do that. We would then look into donating this money through to a COVID-19 response charity, or into a 3D printing charity as such, or donating 3D printers or something on the lines of that. But this is none of this, what I'm saying right now, is guaranteed in any way, shape or form until we have gone past that 2 weeks point.
Yeah, I think it's key to note here that the questions like this, obviously, you think we spoke to you on Wednesday with a very positive tone, got this document, and then we spent the whole of yesterday looking into this. The what do we do with the money and trying to find if we do end up shutting up shop, finding an alternate cause for the money to go towards and whatever else. Those conversations take time. Obviously, they're a board level discussion that myself and Jay will be involved in. Those kind of conversations will take a week or so for us to come up with a plan of action for that. But you would obviously quite rightfully be informed of what our views on that plan is.
Sorry, I answered James that asked the question about the money, and I answered it wrong. Sorry, he meant himself. I'm sorry for that, James. Trust me, you may have noticed some of the admins. The crowd has thinned in the last 7 weeks, and some of that is some of us have put personal things aside, and some of us have lost things personally just to keep this going. And everyone here has donated their time, and I mean you guys as well, not just the admins. It is a kick in the teeth, and I can only apologise we're at this point, but we will be doing. Look, Adam said before that at the beginning of this he was given 20 hours a day. I have been working and I'm not trying to big myself. I've been working 7 days a week for 7 weeks, 20 hours a day, non-stop at this. I ain't gonna let this lie, and none of us guys are. We're not thrown in the towel just yet.
Yeah, exactly. As well, I think it's also key to note. Obviously, you guys have probably seen it in the past. Obviously, the ridiculous hour of which we send out emails and messages and whatever else. Obviously, you've got within the team, you've got 3 university students that obviously have got coursework and deadlines to do. Myself and Phil, both married. I've got a little one. You can probably actually hear him squawking away in the background. So obviously we put a lot of our time and effort into this, and also dragged families into this. So I don't want to have to walk out of my office and see my wife, and then her to kind of go, well, you just wasted 7 weeks not doing anything. No, I as much as you guys, if not more, want to achieve something by this. I want to get product out the door. I want to get it into people's hands. I want to see those glory pictures of nurses and care home staff and whoever else wearing our equipment. We're a hard group to get rid of. We will stick around until we have no other choices.
Yeah, like as I was saying, I want to say a huge thank you to everyone in the Slack community. I know Mason isn't on the call at the moment, but I want to say a huge thank you to him as well. Like without him, a lot of this project wouldn't have happened either. And like to everyone being involved, really, to all of our companies, like we've been working our asses off, and we will continue working our asses off to see this through. That is our goal. That is still our goal. It hasn't changed from day one, and everyone's trying to help. And it's just so frustrating that this document has come through. If we'll put it on for another five minutes ish for some more questions to come through. If not, we'll
go on. Sorry, yeah, we'll cancel after 5 minutes if there's no further questions. But David there has asked if these can't be used in the UK, can they be used in other areas like Africa? We have had people say they'd be able to get them to Africa, or where was the other place?
So potentially looking into countries like the Maldives, International Red Cross. They're also British Red Cross are contacting their international partners and seeing where we could use them out there. Basically, if we were to send them, if we're not able to use them within the UK, which also enforces the EU, because there's obviously we still have to follow the EU rules. Then obviously we then have to look at going outside of the EU. So obviously then does open up those even more in need than our own country.
Exactly.
Obviously, we would much rather keep this in the UK if we can. But worst case scenario, I could not honestly allow us to have to put this stuff through recycling if there's any other physical option on this planet for us to get them out there to somebody to save some lives somewhere. I think that is pretty much the collective view of pretty much I think that the whole admin team on that we do not want to be putting any of this stuff anywhere near a bin if it's good enough to be used.
100%, and I think that's the same view of everyone in the community.
I'd hope so. We all join this to save lives, whether that's people in the UK or people in Africa that need them, or wherever we can get them to go. We'll get them somewhere, hopefully, if needed. And again, we're talking in past tense here. We're talking as if it's all over. We still got options.
Cheers, you, and cheers, guys.
James, I think we're safest not commenting on that, to be honest.
Which one?
James Lang.
Oh.
Yeah, you're good point, mate. Meeting up for a beer. 100%. Come to my student house. That's what we do.
Yeah, Phil's got a nice bar in his garden. We can potentially get a couple of thousand people in there. I hope, Phil.
We could, but we may not be reaching the Wales restrictions because I live in Wales, still under lockdown, unfortunately, Adam.
Oh, damn.
And social distancing anyway.
Yeah. And again, for anyone here who wasn't here when I said it before, we're still a community. We're all right. We've paused at the moment, but this community is here to help each other. You can, we got those printer channels there for people with certain printers to help each other out. Use them. Don't let this go dormant.
I think the other key point as well is Phil saying there, printed questions, if you're saying if you've got the channels, but also just you use the Slack obviously just to be able to keep the spirit of this alive. Obviously, N3DPS do have other things that they're looking at in the future in different ways to potentially help educate people and various other options with this. So yeah, stick at it. Alfie, I knew at some point you were going to drop that one. We need to resume winding up at Adam. Not only does he have two Prussians, but now has a Palette 2S Pro actually, and a rep box. Yes, I did treat myself. Yes, Alfie. Thank you very much.
Someone asked him how much a box cost.
I think we all know how much a rep box costs, right? Mm. They're really nice and it looks cool. And yeah, leave me alone. But as well, all those with the kind words in the chat, muchly appreciated. Obviously, when you sit in a position as we do, obviously a lot of the time we see a lot of the complaints and a lot of the issues and problems and whatever else. And some days we just feel like we're sat here fighting fire left, right, and centre. But we see through that, and that's why we're all still here, because we see what we are trying to achieve, and that's the bit that keeps us all going. And the community aspect of it is that it's not, no individual admin or no individual member can do this alone. It requires the full team to do what we do.
I got a message here from PM from John McLaughlin saying that ABS being a skin irritant isn't quite correct, but from my point of view, John, I got involved in 3D printing from cosplay, and ABS is the best thing to make helmets out of. But when you look at the data sheet, it does say on there that it's an irritant, and the problem is with that is that the people who are doing the tests are not looking that it might be an irritant because it's from the fumes. They just see irritant and they may strike it off altogether. However, saying that, John, you are an expert in your field. If you know otherwise, please give me some information, and I will start printing my helmets out of ABS.
I think John was also mentioning PP as a material. I think because I know you can't type on a YouTube.
Yeah, the issue with PP is that we would have an extremely limited number of people that would be capable and skilled and able to.
It's more common in injection molding.
If you guys can just explain for, obviously not myself because I'm a seasoned guy and all this, but everyone else, what PP it means.
Polypropylene.
Yeah.
Right.
Polypropylene. Okay.
So that would be for injection molding.
Yeah, mainly was to injection molding, which removes the whole community aspect of things, which we've been reluctant to do. We have been looking into injection molders as options prior, but currently right now that the community is our main focus.
Yeah. Again, as well, with the different materials, it's not just about what will pass. Also saying again, Andrew, what we're saying about medical grade ABS meets the standards and that. Yeah, but it's if only 10 people in our community have the ability, the skill, the correct setups to be able to print it, then it just limits how many we can produce down to a point where our logistic partners and IGUS and everyone else involved just wouldn't necessarily be willing to help such a small enterprise. Obviously, we've got the help we've got because of how large we are and how the bulk that we can produce. I think by shrinking, we end up limiting a lot of what we can actually do.
Yeah, as we said earlier in the call, you guys are our biggest resource.
House of Chung, no, I'm not going to repeat it 5 times faster.
Well, I think that's everything, isn't it?
Yeah, if you guys have got any more questions, by all means, post them in the question channel in Slack. I think after today and yesterday, if you don't get a reply from the admins tonight, please bear with us. We're probably all sat there with our favourite alcoholic drink, and having a bit of a chill and having a little bit of an unwind of the evening. So by all means, post your questions in there. We'll get back to you guys tomorrow, after we've kind of had a chance to unwind from a very, very hectic last 2 days.
Agreed. Shall we call it there, guys?
Yeah,
Nothing bad.
Awesome. Yeah, cheers everyone again, and we'll make sure you're remaining on Slack. On Slack 100%, because that's where the first updates will go. As into when our next YouTube call will be. So keep your ear on the ground, have a chat, have a beer, and that's it from me.
Okay. Cheers, guys. See you in a bit.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.